This is Before It Was Headlines, It Was Prophecy, and I'm your host, Katie Elizabeth. Something dawned on me earlier this week. I mean, it was a real moment of realization, and I'd like to share that with you. It will also, the full article will be published in the Goshen Gazette in this week's edition, but I'd like to share this. And this happened several years before this book was published. Well, he may be found, and I'll be making reference to it. I didn't realize what I'd been shown back in 1993, and this was a year before I was serving Yehivahe. This was before the days of internet, before the days everyone carried a cell phone, before FEMA was fully in charge of every disaster. I was privy to some mind-boggling information. I lived in a town that was left without water for a week due to the floodwaters of the Missouri River. The position in which I found myself at that time proved to be very unique. I truly did not understand what I was being shown at that time. Like I said, until this week. I didn't understand it when I wrote this book. And when I was given the list in 2001, I didn't connect it. When I wrote the book in 2006, per the direction of our Heavenly Father, I still didn't fully grasp what I had been shown back in 1993. Over 10 years into my walk of following Messiah, when I wrote this book, the possibility of 10 powers being something other than countries or governments is what is discussed here. Now, being led of a spirit in reading events and reporting news from a prophetic perspective, much has become ominously clearer. Back to 1993, the National Guard came to the rescue of the town and brought water. There were several water stations throughout the town. And although I didn't hear of any resistance or rebellion, and I don't remember a curfew, it was common knowledge that people were refused passage into some areas. And there was no doubt that the gift of water was accompanied by armed authority. So there we had military and a very basic provision for life, water. Now, my husband at that time was what was referred to as first line for the phone company in that town and the surrounding areas. He was, for all practical purposes, the man for communication throughout the town. And his, anyone superior to him in the company was in a home office in another city. He, of course, had total access to any area of town by virtue of his position. Now, interestingly, at this time, we owned a small old-time fast food type restaurant, like the pre-McDonald's, it had dated back to the 50s. And I was one of the few places in town that astounded the health department with my ingenuity in the crisis. And since I had a walk-up window and had passed all the, jumped through all the proper hoops for the health department, I was open for business. And in that being open for business, I was able to provide meals for those who were providing the water. And our kids, were still in school. They were helping. It was summertime, of course, and they were helping at the restaurant. So they were making the deliveries. And here I got teenagers who had full access beyond the barricades that other people were being turned away from. Now, we didn't have any malintent in this situation, but like I said, the free access to everywhere because of the positions that we had. Now looking back at that was really amazing. The town had voted against having a prison built there a few years earlier, so a town about 35 miles away was host to the prison. But when it looked as if the levee was in danger, prisoners were brought in to sandbag, and they never left. The prison, also known as the Diagnostic Center, was built then without a boat. And there was also insight into the media through this ordeal. And again, I'm saying this was 1993. Late that Saturday evening, my husband received a call from one of his crew that said the water treatment plant was flooding. Now, I remember this guy, and my husband was a pretty large man, but this, my husband referred to him as that big guy. So the water treatment plant, if you can picture this, when that gentleman called, he said, I'm making flotation devices for the communication system. The water's about up to my waist. When it hits my chest, they're shutting it down. And, he said that was the message we had, and I'd say it was probably 10:30 at night, between 10 and 10:30. So, our household immediately went into organizational overdrive. The girls and I were filling bathtub sinks, even the washer. And my husband and son headed to the restaurant to fill those sinks and any empty containers we could find, just water. Let's get this water saved here. And, the fact that he worked for the phone company, we had 2 lines coming into the house that were provided. Plus, he also had, he had a cell phone or a mobile phone, whatever. I can't remember what they were called back then. And, they were huge. They looked like bigger than a day planner. And then, of course, the restaurant had a phone. So in all of this water preparation, we were all also using our phones to call the people we knew to tell them and sound the warning. Yet every response was the same. Oh, there's nothing to worry about. We just watched the news, and they said the report of the water treatment plant was exaggerated. Okay. Gotta go, gotta call somebody else to get the same answer again. By midnight, the water treatment plant was shut down, and of course by morning, the water pipes of the entire town were dry. Thankfully, that was a temporary situation. Took about a week, and, we had water again. But as I now peruse the list of the 10 powers in While He May Be Found, it's clear those with guns and control of the water will have the authority. Those who control the food and communication would have great access and possible exemption. We already see that with the Supreme Court and the GMO situation. We're seeing so much more of this. And sadly, we all know the media will feed the ignorance and reassure people that those conspiracy theorists are just greatly exaggerating the situation. But I saw over 20 years ago, I saw those 5 things actually play out in a community. We haven't made any improvements in over 20 years to this situation and to our dependency in the event of a crisis. This book's available at Amazon and the Land of Goshen. Don't be caught unawares. Our Creator does have a plan for His people. This has been, before it was headlines, it was prophecy. I'm Katie Elizabeth.